more time making them, but again, the result is just so cute. I have some in super comfortable and super warm. A crochet hook holder. This one is super useful. Like, for some reason, I always use my hooks, so I feel like this would be perfect for anyone who crochets. A cat team. These are super trendy right now, and for good reason. Baby doll tops. Not actually for baby dolls, for yourself, but that's just what they're called. A sweater vest. I especially like the Emma Chamberlain one. I've seen so many people recreate that one. A tissue box cover. How great is it to turn something boring and turn it into something super fun and aesthetic? Socks. A jewelry / trinket box cover. I've seen people make like cakes out of these. I know that sounds weird, but I'll put a picture and you'll see what I'm talking about. Coin purses. Halter tops. A beach bag. I would definitely line this if you're gonna make this one, especially if you're gonna put like towels in it and heavier stuff. The yarn might stretch out if you don't line it with something. And a trinket dish. I was so surprised when I saw this one because it's like crazy. You can literally make anything out of yarn. A cowboy hat. I am obsessed with this one. You're definitely gonna have to like put wire in it or something so it'll actually like keep its shape, but oh my gosh. Slippers. Overalls. Oh my gosh. I have been dying to make a pair of these. They're so cute. I've seen some with like flower granny squares and
sit on my shit.
A phone case. Who thought you could make a phone case out of yarn? A cover for your earbuds. This one's similar to the charger cover one. A mesh tank top. This is perfect for summer, like to go over to a top or a swimsuit. Center console car cover. I definitely need to make one of these because my dog will like run to the back of the car and they'll like scratch up the center console. So this is definitely on my list of things to make. Hair clips. I actually have no words. They're adorable. A stuffed animal mesh hammock. You could also put yarn in this as well. Like, it's super good for storage. Reusable cotton rounds. These are so sustainable and eco-friendly. A singular granny square top. Super easy and quick. A hat for your cat. I actually died when I saw this. A poncho. A flower garland. This one's similar to the heart and the star one, but just with flowers. A flower crown. This is very much comfortable. The jewelry holder. This is actually one of the most creative things I think I've ever seen. A jewelry / crystal pouch. You could put so many like other things in this too. A belt. I had actually never even heard of this, but when I saw it, I'm like, why haven't I thought of this? A makeup bag. A skincare headband. Basically like one of those little fluffy things with like the little bow on top. Scrap yarn sweater. Great for recycling old yarn and it will turn out super cute. And last but not least, for number 100, we have earrings. I've seen so many different styles of these and I love every single one of them. Alright guys, that is officially going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed and I hope this gave you a better idea on what to crochet. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a like. Comment down below this emoji right here if you made it this far into the video, and subscribe if you want to see more of my face in the future. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.
I used to think a holiday one-stop shop was a myth until I found Michael's. Oh, I need those. Definitely need those. I know, this place.
Don't have much time, but you want to crochet beautiful patterns that look like you spent days or weeks making? Today I'm going to be sharing 25 of my favorite done in one day crochet projects. Hi, I'm Elise from EliseRoseCrochet.com, and these 25 projects can all be done in one day, but they look like they took you days, weeks, or even months with sweat pouring down your face, but you'll be the only one that knows that it only took one day, or even less than a day. These projects are perfect whether you are looking to make a last-minute gift, or maybe you just want something fun to crochet for yourself. Some of these are paid patterns, but most of them are free, and many of them have video tutorials, and I will leave a link for all of them in the description box below. The first project is the Baby Lovey Lamb, and this one is such a sweet and simple project that is going to whip up so quickly. You use a combination of cotton yarn and chunky chenille yarn to get this effect. You can add the little bow if you want to make it for a little girl, but you could leave off the bow if you wanted to make it for a little boy, or maybe you wanted it to be gender neutral, and it is a free pattern. You know, there's something else that you can do in one day, and that is to start your language learning journey. When I'm not crocheting, I still like to do activities that keep my mind sharp. I'm learning Spanish with Babbel, and I am having so much fun. If in topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. Click the link in the description box to get 60% off your subscription. And let me know in the comment section what my project is the Prism Baby Lovey. In this package, you saw Dash Dino in the brand new book from Mama Made Minis called Knotted Loveys. I knew that I wanted to make him. I just think that there is something so incredibly sweet about him, and I wanted an excuse to try a different chunky chenille yarn, and he was the perfect excuse. This book contains 16 different patterns in 4 different categories. There are fantastic knotted loveys that have the dragon, a unicorn, and a yeti. You'll also find farm-themed patterns. There's a chick, a cow, a goose, and a lamb. The next category are wild animals. There's an elephant, a hippo, a monkey, and a bear. And finally, there are the woodland-themed patterns. There's a fawn, I love that one, a fox, a rabbit, and a toad. And what's interesting is that I didn't start out thinking that this was going to take me one day. This video came about because he took me less than a day to make, and that absolutely blew my mind. Because looking at him, I thought at least a few days to make. I had no clue that it would take me less than 4 hours. Sometimes when I am making an amigurumi project, I do like to time how long it takes me. That way I can gauge if I ever want to make it again, what amount of time do I need to set aside. So when I started timing this little guy, I was absolutely shocked. I'll actually tell you how long it took me to make each one of these parts. The head took 48 minutes. The body took 1 hour. These are all approximations. I rounded up a little bit. That way I wasn't giving it down to the millisecond here. Each leg took 25 minutes. The arms each took 11 minutes. The tail took 18 minutes. The large spikes took 4 minutes each, and there were 2 of them. Then there were 6 small spikes, but those took 1 minute each to make. Then it took me about 25 minutes to sew all of the spikes on his body. And if I did my math right, that came out to 3 hours and 45 minutes. But I think what I love most about him is that he doesn't look like he takes less than 4 hours to make. I think that if you were to gift this to someone, they would think that you spent so much time, unless they're a crocheter and they know about crochet and they use chunky chenille yarn all the time. But if they're not a crocheter, they're going to think that this project took an extraordinary amount of time and a lot of effort. This is such a fun project, and I used the Premier Basics Chenille Bright, and this was a fantastic chunky chenille yarn to use. There was very little to no shedding. I recently did a video where I was comparing different chunky chenille yarns, and I had not used the Premier Basics Chunky Chenille Brights, but this is my favorite one, hands down. It's a very affordable chunky chenille yarn. Let me look up and see how much it is. It's $3.99 full price for 5.3 ounces. That's a pretty good deal. And this was the color Sage.
As you may have heard, this year there are 4 incredible new items.
The next category is blankets. Now, I did not think that there were going to be many crocheted blankets that you could make in one day, but you would be surprised. And these are some of my favorite projects. They are gorgeous. One of my favorites is the chunky blanket in one day from my friend Roz from the YouTube channel Play Hooky With Me. This gorgeous blanket is perfect for beginners. It has a video tutorial, and she uses Bernat blanket yarn for this project. I absolutely love that color. It is so gorgeous. The next crochet blanket is from Jessica from Mama in a Stitch. This is the Done in a Day quick crochet blanket, and she is using Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick, and it is gorgeous. I love all of that texture. It looks like it would be so cozy, and what's even better is that it is a free pattern on her blog. The next blanket is the Sunday Snuggles Throw by Ambassador Crochet. This one is so beautiful. She's using a number 6 super bulky weight yarn and a 10mm crochet hook. I love the texture and simplicity of this pattern, and it looks like it's going to whip up super quick. And it's a free pattern on her blog. The 1-day crochet baby blanket is from Make and Do Crew, and this is one of those projects that is going to blow people's mind. They are not going to believe that this took only 1 day to make. But don't worry, your secret's safe with me. This is a free pattern, and I love those different color blocks. She used a number 5 bulky weight yarn and a 7mm crochet hook. The next blanket is from CJ Design, and this one is so gorgeous, and there's a video tutorial for it. And the title of this blanket is Crochet This Blanket in 4.5 hours. Sign me up. I love a quick project like that. Daniela used Bernat blanket yarn, and that is the perfect choice for this because it is a number 6 super bulky weight yarn, and it is so soft. Now we're moving into the For the Home category, and I've got 4 great projects for you. The next project is the Chunky Bobble Draft Blocker by Blackstone Designs. And if you have drafty old windows and doors like I do, this is the perfect project for you. I love when function meets form with a crochet project because this is a very practical project for many of us to make. Who says practical can't be pretty and functional all at the same time? This is a free pattern, and she also mentions that you can do this in a solid color like she's done. You could do it in stripes, or you could make it with the bobbles being a different color, which I think could look so cute. This next project isn't even going to take you half a day to make. It's going to be so quick, and it's from Jan Crochet, and she is one of my favorite crochet designers. Her work is extraordinary. When I think napkin ring, I think boring and utilitarian, but there is nothing boring about these crochet napkin rings. I love how this simple crochet project elevates a place setting. This would be the perfect project for your friend that loves to host. Now, I don't host a lot of people in my home, but I do have a few who do a great job with this, and this would be such a great gift for them. This next project is from Vincent from Not Bad, and it combines 2 of my loves, For the Home projects and amigurumi. This is the World Turtle Succulent Holder, and I think that it is so cute. Succulents are so popular right now. Any kind of plants are popular, and I think this one is so practical, but it is adorable. And he's also using Lion Brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick, so this project is going to go fast. Can you make a list of the best crochet projects for the home without including Allie from the Turtle Trunk? I don't think so. This woman has magic hands, and I love everything that she designs. One of my favorites is her Dottie dishcloth pattern. How cute are these? It's a free pattern, but she also has a video tutorial. I had no idea that dishcloths could be beautiful, but these definitely are. The next category is accessories, and I have 5 amazing patterns for you. The first pattern in the crochet accessories category are the Star Stitch Crochet Fingerless Gloves from Rafa Musa Designs. I love the texture of these mittens, and I have heard people before say, why would you want fingerless mittens? But they're really practical, at least for me they are. I knit myself a pair last year, and I wore them all winter long, especially because I like to be outside and I want to keep my hands warm, but I still need to be able to use my fingertips to be on my phone or driving or something else where I really need to have my fingertips exposed. So I think they're really practical. And what's even better, it's a free pattern. The next pattern is the Modern Twist Crochet Bulky Headband from Nana's Crafty Home. You probably already know Tanya from Nana's Crafty Home, but if you don't, make sure to check out her amazing patterns and her YouTube channel. Tanya states that this is a 30-minute project, and she uses Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick, and I love that mustard yellow that she used. And I love headbands like this because especially here in North Carolina, we typically don't get super cold weather, but you do want to keep your ears warm and toasty, and this is the perfect project for that. And it's a free pattern. The next project is the Classic Cowl by Hannah from Jan Design. I had to share another one of her patterns because this one is beautiful. This is a free pattern for a cowl, and at first I was looking at the photos and I thought, wait, that's not a cowl, that's a shawl. But then looking closer, it actually is an infinity cowl, and it is absolutely beautiful. It has this gorgeous drape, and you can wrap it around your neck for it to be a little bit closer to your neck, or it can drape around your shoulders, and it really is elegant and beautiful. I have Pickle here. So if you see me petting him, that's what I'm doing. He's just sitting on my lap. Now, I'm not a Tunisian crocheter, but I had to include this one. This is the Tunisian Crochet Honeycomb Cowl from One Little Hook. This one is going to work up super quick. There are only 2 stitches and a 2-row repeat. She's also using Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick. That is such a great yarn when you want to make something that looks beautiful, but it's going to work up really fast. Okay, buddy. He is so big now. You want everybody to see how cute you are. You're so cute. He's just purring away. Oh, he's such a good boy. The next pattern is, of course, a crocheted beanie. This is from CJ Design, and it is her Costa beanie, and it's the super bulky version. This is a free pattern, and it only calls for 1 skein of Lion Brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick, and she also has sizing so that you can make an adult size all the way to babies. Now we're moving on to the crochet garment category, and I have 3 amazing patterns to share with you. The first crochet garment pattern is from Mama in a Stitch. This is the Done in a Day Quick Crochet Shrug pattern, and it blows my mind. This does not look like something that you could crochet in one day, but you can. What's really unique about this one is the construction of this piece. It's really just a big crocheted rectangle that is folded and seamed together to make this beautiful garment, which to me almost looks like a full-on cardigan. For this pattern, she uses the Lion Brand Scarfy yarn that comes in so many gorgeous gradient colorways. It has this self-striping ombre effect that fades from one color to another, and it really is gorgeous. It's a number 5 weight chunky yarn, and she uses an 8mm crochet hook, and this is a free pattern. The next pattern is the Crochet Blanket Shrug from Jules & Jones. This is a beginner-friendly pattern and uses a 1-stitch repeat. She has a free pattern and a video guided tutorial. For this pattern, she uses the Michaels Loops and Thread Cream Cotton yarn, and it's a number 4 worsted weight yarn. But she also gives some suggestions for different yarns that you could substitute with. This one really will stump family or friends to think that you were able to make this in one day. This next project is one that I actually am probably going to make. It's from the Snugglery, and it's the Granny Square Shrug. I love this one. I love this one so much. It's basically a big old granny square that you turn into a shrug. I'm totally going to make this because I would wear this everywhere. It's just my style. I mean, I love granny squares, and I could just see this being so much fun. You could do this in so many different granny square combinations, but I love the simplicity of this. I love that you really could just whip this up, and you could use any yarns that you already have. You could make this in very neutral colors, really bright, anything you want. I'm going to make this. I've already decided I'm going to make this. Oh, I forgot to tell you, it's a free pattern.
AI is smart, but it can also help you get smarter.
AI tools are already helping people. It's likely that whatever career you're in will benefit from AI tools. Try it yourself. A great place to begin is the Google AI Essentials course, where I'll help you get started.
This is not a procedure. It's just a hard-working cream.
Revitalift Triple Power with pro-retinol, hyaluronic acid, and vitamin C visibly reduces wrinkles, firms, and brightens skin in 1 week.
Ladies, it's time to ask for more.
Revitalift Triple Power by L'Oreal Paris.
The next category is amigurumi, and you didn't think I was going to leave out the amigurumi toys, did you? And I have 4 of the cutest little crochet toy patterns you have ever seen. The first amigurumi project is the Pocket Otter from Sweet Softies. I think this one is so cute. She said that the finished size is 5 inches and will fit perfectly in the palm of your hand. It is so cute. She recommends a chunky chenille yarn or a velvet yarn, and she actually used Hobie's Honey Bunny yarn. She's got a whole collection of these little pocket amigurumis, and they are so adorable, and they're going to whip up so quickly. The next amigurumi pattern is the No Sew Cat pattern by Stitch by Faye. I mean, look at that little face. That is the cutest little kitty cat. I love it, and I love that there's nothing to sew. That's going to make this pattern go by lickety split, and I can see any cat lover in your life loving this one so much. For this little guy, she used a DK weight chenille yarn and a 3mm crochet hook. So this is going to be a little tiny kitty cat. This next pattern is by CJ Design, and I also shared her Costa beanie, but this one is Fred the Sea Turtle. I love him. I need this one in my life. This one is so cute. Every summer we go to Edisto Island in South Carolina, and there are sea turtles there. A couple of years ago, I did a little vlog of our beach trip, and we found this teeny tiny little baby turtle on the road, and we were able to put him, I don't think he was a sea turtle, he was just a different kind of a turtle, but he was, I mean, it was a baby. It was so cute. Anyway, I really love all animals, but turtles are just so adorable, and this one is just, oh my goodness. One thing that I think makes this one really unique is if you look at the eyes, she's using an amigurumi eye that looks a little more realistic. I love that so much, and two of my favorite places to find amigurumi eyes are Glass Eyes online and 6060 Eyes. They have everything that you could ever want. I have found them to have very high quality eyes. I used to just buy them on Amazon, and it was always hit or miss whether or not they would be good safety eyes, but I've had really good luck with both the 6060 Eyes and the Glass Eyes online. I'll leave links for those shops in the description box below as well. But back to Fred. Fred is amazing. He is so cute, and I love those colors. This next pattern is about the cutest thing I've ever seen. This is the Leggy Froggy and the Baby Froggy bundle. And this is from Not Jaded Co. on Etsy. So this is a paid pattern, but oh my goodness, how adorable. She uses a super bulky weight yarn and an H size crochet hook. And I don't know what that is in millimeters because I always do millimeter. Well, let me just look.
Too.
It's a 5mm crochet hook. And what's interesting about these frogs is that I've been seeing them a lot on TikTok, especially for people who do handmade markets and they sell physical items. And apparently these sell like hotcakes. People love buying these and they whip up so quickly. I am absolutely in love with these little frogs. They have so much personality. I love those long legs and that little face. These are just so adorable, and I will definitely leave the link for this pattern in the description box below, and it has rave reviews. I hope you enjoyed all of these done in one day crochet patterns, and make sure to get your 60% off Babble.
Goodbye, gravity. It's your universe.
You know who puts the G in great and gifts? Yep, it's Google. Here are 3 must-have gifts from Google. The Pixel 9 Pro XL is the most powerful Pixel yet. I'm rapid. Are you a book lover who also enjoys crochet? This seems to be a very popular combination of interests, and my social media feeds are full of the coziest crochet projects and the most brilliant book recommendations, and I could not be happier. And today I'm sharing 25 plus. There's more than 25. I've actually lost count. There's just trust me, there's more. But I'm going to be sharing so many amazing crochet projects with book lovers in mind. You'll find cute book covers, adorable bookmarks, amazing book themed blankets, busy books for babies, a crochet book bag, and amigurumi themed patterns, just to name a few. As someone who's enjoyed reading since I was a little girl, books have always been an escape for me. They've been comfort, they've been adventure, and there's nothing better than cozying up in your bed with an amazing book or going for a brisk walk. This is something I do on the regular with my favorite new audiobook. Books are a way to escape from the humdrum of everyday life, but these crochet projects are combining my love of books and my love of yarn in sentence. I'm breaking these books, throw it into a bigger bag, and you want to protect the pages, you want to protect the cover, but it could also just be that you want to make one because they are so darn cute. The minute I stumbled upon this first project, I knew I was going to make it. This is the Strawberry Book Sleeve by Mythic Mist on Etsy. How cute is that? This pattern calls for one of my favorite yarns, and that's Wool Ease Thick and Quick, and it's the colors Blossom, Succulent, and Raspberry. It's a dream for this project, and I think these colors are perfect for this little project. This is such a great size for any of the books that I own, and I've added the little button here, and so you open it up and you put your book in there. And while I am keeping this for myself, this would make a fantastic gift for any book lover in your life, and this works up super quick.
I started it 2 days ago, I finished it last night, and I probably could have just made it in 1 day. The designer also has a crochet pumpkin book sleeve, and I probably already forgot to tell you that I am leaving links for all of the patterns in the description box below. The next project is the cute crochet pocket book sleeve, and it just makes me want to reread Anne of Green Gables, which is one of my favorite books of all time. First, this is a free pattern, and it's also customizable for any size book or your Kindle. Pickle, come here. This boy, he knows I'm filming and he just wants all the attention. You want to say hi to everybody? Say hi. Now you're camera shy. Now you don't want to be on camera. This isn't just a simple book sleeve because it has a little pocket in the front, and you can put some little note cards, a bookmark, or even some pens if you like to annotate your books and all of your reading, or if you like to highlight, or if this is for your journal. I think this one is just so cute. Oh my gosh, I have to share one of my favorite things to do, and that's keeping a record of all of the crochet and knitting projects I've finished. And the sweet folks from Twice Sheared Sheep sent me this beautiful crochet and knitting journal. But this isn't just any old project journal. This is a treasure chest where you can log every project that you've finished. You can stash your swatches, your yarn balls, and yarn samples. It also has space for designers to sketch out new ideas, and it also doubles as an easel so that you can easily follow along with your pattern. How cool is that? And can I just gush about Twice Sheared Sheep for a second? They don't just stop at journals. They have so many amazing products for us crocheters and knitters. They're a family-owned company, and Dawn, the owner, is a totally their yarn to go carousel, and in the past I was never a fan of yarn holders until I got my hands on this one. And what I love about it is that it comes apart easily and it stores flat so that it can go into a project bag or a notions pouch. It is in the description box with the code Elise Rose Crochet. You're in so many pretty colors. Our next project is another strawberry book sleeve, but it's different than the one I made, and it is adorable. This is a pattern from Sydney from One Stop Wonders, and one of the things that I really loved about it is that the book that she's featuring right there on the Etsy listing is a book that I happen to love, and it's Shady Hollow. And if you like any kind of murder mystery books, but they're cozy and there's talking animals, then I highly recommend it. As a Granny Square lover, I could not be more excited about this next project, and it's the Granny Square book cover by Emily Jane Crochet. This one is beginner friendly, and it comes with instructions to make a smaller or a larger size book cover. Another thing that I love about this project is the photo, and it has the book, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and that is one of my favorite reads from last year. I devoured that book. It is so good. And while I was reading it, I had to remind myself over and over again that this was a fictional story, that the main character of this story wasn't real, because I would think, oh, I'm going to look her up. I want to look up her Wikipedia page. And then I'd have to remind myself she's not real. So I highly recommend that book. The next project is the checkerboard crochet book cover, and I love this one. Checkerboards are so on trend, and this one is adorable. I love those little checks, and you could make this project in so many different color combinations, and it's also customizable for different size books. So this next project isn't a project. It's a whole collection of projects, and it's from one of my favorite crochet YouTubers, Mahum. She has some of the most adorable crochet patterns, and her crochet bookish playlist is absolute perfection. She has videos for a heart granny square book cover, a tulip sleeve book cover, how to crochet book covers of any size, crochet love letter book sleeve, I love this one, a bear holding a heart book sleeve, a heart bookmark, and crochet flower bookmarks. We're moving on to crochet bookmarks, and I have so many adorable ones to share with you. And this next one is called the Book Rat Bookmark. I cannot get over how adorable this project is. It combines 3 of my loves: crochet, reading, and amigurumi. A particularly erudite and well-read rat represents the book rat.
Always to be found in libraries, bookshops, and or private bookshelves, and often so engrossed in a book to realize the approach of the book owner that slams the book shut with book rat inside. I love this project so much, and I love how the designer included the little story about how he got his little stunned face and his little flat body. Book rat was designed by Super Gurumi, and she's using the yarn Catania, which is a 100% cotton sport weight yarn. The next project is one that I designed, and it's the floral granny square bookmarks. This is such a fun and quick pattern. You can use any yarn that you have. It's a perfect stash buster, and if you adapt the little leaves, you can make it into a sunflower, which is my favorite way to make this project, but it's also free on my website, and it's just a really fun project to make. And I love adding a little ribbon and a little tag. It's just fun to embellish it. This next project is so much fun, and it's the Crochet S'mores bookmark. This was designed by Topaz Eyes Crochet on Etsy. What's great about this design is that you have the graham cracker and the chocolate at the top, and then at the bottom you have the graham cracker and the marshmallow, and they're connected by those chains. And I think this one is just amazing. And on the Etsy listing, she shows exactly how to put it together, how to open it up, and how to use it in your books. But another thing is that in her listing photos, she's sharing one of my favorite reads from this year, and that is Local Woman Missing. That one was such a fun one. I listened to the audio version, and it kept me on the edge of my seat. This next project is from one of my favorite crochet designers, Kristen Holloway. She always has this vintagey, feminine feel. I love everything that she designs. Her vintage crochet lace bookmark is absolutely stunning, and it's a free pattern on her website. It has this beautiful romantic Victorian feel, but let me tell you, she is using crochet thread for this project. This is Aunt Lydia's extra fine crochet thread, size 30 in the color natural. It is stunning. How cute is this little baby giraffe bookmark from Heart Hook Home? I think any bookworm child or adult would love this. Ashley has a lot of other crochet bookmark patterns as well, like a little duck, a bunny rabbit, a frog, a pig, a bookworm, and an elephant. Our next category is crochet blankets for book lovers, and this first one is amazing. This is the Corner to Corner Bookcase Lover by The Naughty Book. The bookcase lapgan is a book lover's dream. It's also a great project for busting stashes of scrap yarn. I think this is the perfect project for a crocheter who is also a total bookworm, and I love that you can customize the different colors of the books in the blanket to your favorite book jacket colors. Make sure to check out all of the different patterns that the Naughty Book offers, because many of her designs are book themed and they are really fun. This is another bookcase crocheted blanket pattern, and this one is from Yarnspirations. This one has a cool boho vibe, and I'm loving all of those earth tones and that little cactus on the shelf. This next crochet project is a true showstopper, and it's the Mosaic Bookcase by Ziggs Crochet. This pattern is made with 9 different mosaic crochet charts, so you can customize this one to make the crochet bookcase blanket of your dreams. She's also included a shorter version of the chart so that you can make a project in the round, like a cushion or a cover for your laptop or tablet. This next project is less of a project and more of an idea. Crochet temperature blankets are super popular, and the idea behind them is that you assign a certain color to a specific temperature range. Then throughout the year, you track the temperatures and then crochet those colors in the order. And it's just a really fun way to be able to keep track of the year and make a little memory. But you can apply this concept to book genres as well. You can track all of the different types of books that you read throughout the year, and then you can assign each genre with a color and then crochet them in any way that you want. You can do this with granny squares. You can do this with stripes. This could be such a fun idea. And I found a fantastic blog post from This Pixie Creates all about how to do this, and I will leave a link for it in the description box below. We are on to the next category, and that is busy books for babies. Now, we we cannot forget the littlest ones in our lives, and we want to get them hooked on books from the time they are itty bitty. And these projects are incredible. And the first one is the Sea Life Quiet Book by Tanya Borisova, and this one is absolutely amazing. How beautiful is this project? It has so many incredible details. I just want to make it for myself and for my future grandbabies. Someday I'll have grandchildren and I would love to make something like this for them. She's also using one of my absolute hands down favorite yarns of all time, and that's Yarn Art Jeans, which is a cotton acrylic blend, and it's a number 2 fine weight. But she also has other busy book patterns, and one of them is the jungle version, and it is so cute. And she also has my first quiet book. So I just said that crochet busy books for babies was an entire category, and as I was just looking over my notes, I realized that I only had one in that category, and we're already moving on to our next category, which is miscellaneous crochet items for book lovers. These are the Crochet Shark bookends, and I think these are fantastic. This is Sonia from Blackstone Designs. It took me a few minutes to figure out how in the world did she get the shark ends, the front end and the back end, suspended in air. I just could not figure that out. And then I was looking over the supplies list, and you just get some clear plastic bookends, and then you're going to secure them onto there. The boho book nook is a boho style hanging basket that is the perfect size for a couple of books or journals or a stack of magazines, a place for mail, or whatever you need it for. This is a project from Belle and Bean Crochet, and I thought that this was absolutely genius. This could be amazing in a bathroom where you might want to have a book to read if you're going to be there for a while, but you could also use this in a child's room and put it right at their level with all of their little books. This next project is from one of my favorite crochet designers, and that's Brittany from Be Hooked. This is the crochet book bag with granny squares, and what's genius about it is that you are getting a sturdy canvas bag, and then you are crocheting little granny squares so that it looks like it's a crocheted bag, but it has that sturdiness of that canvas bag so that you can put a whole bunch of books in there. Whether you go to the library or a bookstore, it's going to hold a lot of weight. We can't talk about crochet projects for book lovers without including some Dr. Seuss projects in the mix. I loved these books when I was a kid, and then I read them to my children when they were little, and we all loved Dr. Seuss so much. And I love these Thing 1 and Thing 2 hats from Repeat Crafter Me. These are the kind of projects that make me wish so much that I had been a crocheter when my kids were little. Now, I would have needed to have a Thing 1, Thing 2, Thing 3, and Thing 4, and they acted a lot like those two characters from the book. They were always into things, but these are so cute, and I think kids and adults would love them. And make sure to check out Sarah's other Dr. Seuss patterns. She has a Cat in the Hat headband that I think is amazing. This next project is one of my favorite that is based on a children's book series, and that's Frog and Toad. Frog and Toad are always there for each other, just as best friends should be. From sledding in winter to eating ice cream on hot summer days, these two friends have fun together the whole year round. I read these stories to my children over and over again, and we would laugh, and we just had so much fun with these tales of Frog and Toad. And when I came across this pattern from Frog and Cast, I made the knitted versions because the crochet version wasn't out yet, and they are two of my favorite projects that I have ever done. I have had so many people ask if they can buy them from me, and I'm never parting with them. I love them so much. I created an entire video about them, but she does have a crocheted version, and they are absolutely adorable. She has captured the essence of Frog and Toad with these little creatures, and I highly recommend these patterns. They are just so adorable. So if you love Frog and Toad, you are going to love them. This next project is actually a collection of crochet patterns based on classic literature. This is the book Literary Yarns Crochet Projects Inspired by Classic Books, and you'll find 25 different patterns. You'll find Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice. You'll also find the White Rabbit from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. There's Sherlock Holmes. There's also Jay Gatsby and Daisy Buchanan from The Great Gatsby. There's Captain Ahab and Moby Dick from Moby Dick, and Anne Shirley from Anne of Green Gables, and these are just a few of the different characters in the book. This next project is one of my favorites in this entire collection, and it's the miniature crochet bookcase. Each little piece is individually crocheted. You've got the little books, you've got the bookcase itself, and you have a little plant, and then you have a little picture frame, and I just think this is so adorable. It reminds me something out of a dollhouse. It is just so cute. I really would love to make this, and it's a free pattern. This next project is one that I wish that I had known about earlier this year, and that's because my little nephew had his first birthday, and it was a Where the Wild Things Are themed. The Little Wild One and Friends digital PDF crochet pattern was inspired by my own children's love of the classic tale and all things wild. For added versatility, this pattern contains bonus modifications to create 3 unique snugglers: Little Wild One Wolf Pup, Little Brave One Bear Cub, and Little Sly One Fox Kit. There's also an alternate head option to allow the head to be made functional like a hoodie for more interactive play. I could not love this project more. It is so adorable, and because it is made with that chunky chenille yarn, it's going to be so soft and squishy, and I think any child who loves Where the Wild Things Are is going to love this project. I hope you enjoyed all of these different crochet projects, perfect for book lovers, but make sure to enter the giveaway from Twice Sheared Sheep and get your discount by using the code Elise Rose Crochet. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Stay safe and happy stitching. Oh, pickle.
Hey, it's me, your very dry skin. I'm uncomfortable and need extra hydration. Developed with dermatologist, new CeraVe Intensive Moisturizing Lotion with innovative hydrourea for intense hydration and 3 essential ceramides helps restore my natural barrier and lock in extra moisture for up to 72 hours of hydration, 99% less itch, and comfort that lasts. New CeraVe Intensive Moisturizing Lotion.
I have a bunch of denim scraps that I'm going to use for this project. Here I'm removing the belt loops and the label. I will reuse these at a later time. This is like a scalpel knife. I prefer it to the seam ripper. If I can find the link, I'll put it below. I'm also taking out the zipper because, again, I can use this at a later time. I'm cutting open this seam and then I'll lay it down flat and sew that down, and that way I can keep the design but the fabric lies flat. Now I'm going to sew down this seam and this seam. Here I want to add a scrappy border, so I'm going to cut some squares out of scraps of denim. So I'm just sewing them right sides together, just the width of my foot. I'm not doing anything specific, but I am going to turn the stitch down to regular stitch length. I'm going to top stitch these afterwards to give them a design. I'm going to just press these all over to the one side, to the same side, so that I can top stitch them down. I'm going to top stitch 2 rows down each seam, and then I've decided to do a embroidery decoration down the centre of each one. I'm lining this up with the straight line on my mat, so that's roughly straight, and then I'll see what I've got here. Just put it under my 8th line, let's flick it over, put it onto the 8-inch line and pin that down. So I'm going to go and sew that down and then top stitch it. Cut a strip of denim that is 7 inches, and I'm going to add it to the bottom here and then top stitch it twice like I did above. I'm just going to fold it at the sides here, make sure the top's all okay. I'm happy with that. Bottoms, everything's good. Okay, and now I'm just going to cut it. I have this cap fabric that I want to use and cut out the pores and use as a plique, and I have these acrylic template circles that I'm going to use. Easy Steam Light, and it's a two-sided fusible. So I'm just going to draw some circles. I'm going to cut these out and lay them on the fabric where I want to fussy cut them. I'm just going to press that down and seal that to the fabric. Using a fabric marker, I'm going to draw around the paw print and cut that out. I'm going to repeat that with some other colours. Press those down and I'm going to go and applique around the edges. Lay a zigzag stitch with the stitch width at 2.6 and the stitch length at 0.4. And I've got an open toe applique foot on so that I can see where the needle goes.
Linda just realized the horrifying truth. She's low on kid snacks. Stay cool, Linda.
I made these 2 applique patches and I'm going to use them to decorate the apron. Here I decided to cut a hole in the denim and then I scraped the edge with a seam ripper because I wanted to create a frayed edge look. Add some more fusible to the top of the head part so that we can stick it to the denim. I want to use a contrast colour denim for the top part of the apron, and I found these scraps of black jeans that I have lying around. So here I am cutting off all the pieces that I don't need right now. I like undoing the seams, jeans that have been like stone washed and distressed and things like that, because you get all the different colours come through. I've cut the patch at the leg and I'm going to have the cat half in and half out of the pocket. Here I'm trimming around the outside edge of the applique patch. Raw edge applique, it's basically like just drawing it with a pencil and going over it a couple of times. So you don't want to be going over the same stitches twice. You want that drawn, rough drawn look. I'm folding this in half, finding the centre, and I'm just going to cut it straight. I want it going up at an angle. Using adding machine tape and a selection of colours of my scraps, I'm going to go over to the machine and make some strips. This is 3 inches wide and this is adding machine roll. So the first fabric, it doesn't matter what your strips are, what width, so long as they cover the tape. So you put your first one down and then the next one would be right sides together. So I will cut all these down afterwards, trim them all back. And just sew straight through the tape. I have a small stitch length of 1.6 because we're going to be cutting this up and I don't want the stitches to come undone. Just give it a finger press. If you want to, you can just put a pin in that edge to help hold it down. And then grab your next fabric. Right sides down, make sure it's covering the whole of the paper. Now what I would do here is cut that off. I'm going to cut that off as well. I might be able to put those aside so I can use them further on down. Give it a finger press and just keep going till you've got as long as you need or you want. I've cut some 4-inch strips of black fabric and I'm going to sew these together to make one long strip and mark the centre of your fabric. So I know this is 4 inches wide, so I'm just going to draw a line 2 inches down, all the way down this fabric on the wrong side. And then what I'm going to do that all the way down, and then I want to bring the raw edges into that centre line and press that down flat as well. So just repeat, bringing the raw edges into the centre and pressing it down. And we're going to do that all the way along the black fabric. Now I want to do exactly the same with the scrappy fabric. Now what we do is, with the wrong side of the fabric facing up, so the raw edges facing up, and then these, the raw edges facing down, lay them on top of each other, centralising the fabrics. We're going to sew 1/8 of an inch down one side and then 1/8 of an inch down the other side to secure those two fabrics together. So this end strip of the fabric, bring the raw edge in about 1/2 inch and press it down, and the same for this one. To tuck the raw edges in, fold those back up, press that back down, and the same here. So now we've got a nice neat tidy end, and we're going to repeat that all the way down the fabric, so we've got one long thin strap. For this, I'm going to use my Stitch in the Ditch foot, and I like this because it has got this guide and it just helps with top stitching. It just gives a nice neat job, and I just love the way it's easy. So I'm using that. It's called a Stitch in the Ditch, and I'm moving my needle far over to the left and a stitch length of about 3 back stitch. Finished my strap. I've sealed the one end, and I've left the other end open in case I need to add to the length. I've decided not to use this, so I'm going to cut that off. And I'm going to cut that off. So I'm sewing those down, and I'm sewing this down.
1, 2, 3, go! We follow pizza drivers and make sure the customers get a Pepsi.
Is that legal?
It's a gray area.
That's the perfect combo.
I won't let my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis symptoms define me.
Emerge as you. With Tremfya, most people saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months, and the majority stayed clearer at 5 years.
Serious allergic reactions may occur. Tremfya may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, or if you had a vaccine or plan to.
Emerge as you. Emerge Tremfyant. Ask your doctor about Tremfya.
So I'm going to cut 2 20-inch strips. On the end, not now, but when I've finished, I'm going to unpick that, fold the edges in and finish those off. Cut a piece of lining fabric using the outer as the template. Lay the fabrics wrong sides together so the right side's facing out, and pin the lining to the main outer fabric. Draw a 1-inch line on the outer and the lining fabric on the wrong side. And we're going to fold this over and press it a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So bring the raw edge down to that drawn line, and that gives you a 1/2 inch fold. And the same for this side. And that will give us a neat edge at the top. And now I'm going to mark the place for my strap. So I'm going to bring that down another 1/4 of an inch and draw a line. Okay, and bring it in 1/2 an inch. And that's where I'm going to line up my straps. Right side's facing down, and pin that down. I'm going to add bias tape around the outside edge. I found this scrap bit of black, which I think will work perfect on this apron. I'm going to sew it along that 1/8 of an inch fold line. And I'm running my needle along that fold. Oh my gosh, just fold over, will you? All right, let's get you pinned down with the needle. Okay. All right, so my machine is now holding that down. Pull it and fold it, and you want to cover your stitch line underneath from the front. Like I said, bigger binding for this thickness of fabric would have been much simpler. And I'm just going with what I've got. Now I can see this might cause a problem here. And it's fine on the back, so I'm just going to pull it over. I want to put a keyring here. I've got this D-ring and I can put that on there and hang that from underneath. Sew that on there, which would work, and I could just use that. And then attach that to my D-ring. So I need to go and sew that down onto my ring. I'm going to unpick it here. These are all things that could have been done before, and I think I'm going to cut it there, stop the edges from fraying, and then that'll just slide under there and push it right up, and I'll just stitch that back down. So I clipped it around my neck and it sort of sits around there. See what that measures at. From the top, that's 12.5 inches. So let's measure 12.5 inches from this one. So I'm going to put cam snaps in this every 2 inches so that it's fully adjustable. And I'm going to finish off these ends. And there's that one. So there's my neck strap done, and I'm going to do exactly the same for the waist. I've found this old t-shirt of mine from, oh my God, years and years and years ago. I mean, look at the size of it. And it's got my name on it in rhinestones. So guess what? I'm going to use it. I'm going to put it on to a scruffy denim patch and put it on the bib. So I've finished it. So, yep, that's my my apron for work. Well, it's free work. I volunteer at Friends of the Animals, which is a thrift store, but it's for our local county animal shelter, and it is cats and dogs animal shelter. Which is why I got a cat and a dog. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I hope you enjoyed the tutorial.
Want to get low-key ready with me? I literally have 15 seconds.
This tiny brush gives the most insane length and definition. Gorge, I'm good to go.
Thank you, L'Oreal Paris.
In this video, I'm going to show you how I make a beautiful pouch from this scrappy fabric. They're just so pretty. Just look at those. This is what the back looks like. I'll put a link in the description on how I made the fabric. You could use batting, you could use fusible fleece. You could use anything, but I'm using the foam just to give it some stability. I'm going to quilt that down. I'm not going to use a backing fabric just yet because we're going to line it. Now all I'm going to do is quilt straight lines about 1 inch apart, 17 inches. So I'm just centralising.
Sup, you beautiful bastards. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, your daily dive into the news. There's a bunch we got to talk about today, so I'm just going to hit you with that monkey and jump into it.
This is a news show.
Subway surfing is killing kids. Also, no, I don't mean the mobile game that you've played or you've seen on TikTok videos because no one has an attention span anymore. Instead, I'm talking about real-life teenagers riding on top of real-life trains going full speed. I mean, even just this week, a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old saw this subway surfing trend online. They decide, hey, let's do it ourselves. And then they were literally riding on top of a moving train in Queens, jumping between cars and running along the top of it. But then, when the train came to a stop, the girls lost their balance and they fell between the cars. As far as the younger one, they suffered a head injury and they're in critical condition with a fractured skull and a brain bleed. And that teenager, they fell underneath the train and died. Now here's the thing, people have been surfing trains in New York since at least the 80s. But now in the age of the internet and social media, kids have taken it as a way to try to get views online, and it's becoming an incredibly dangerous trend in recent years, with countless videos popping up online showing people on top of trains or even buses going full speed. And this latest tragedy, it brings the subway surfing death toll up to 6 just this year, with in fact just last week one of those 6 being a 13-year-old boy from Brooklyn. And then earlier this year there was a 15-year-old boy who hit his head on a beam and fell between the cars and died. And so with this, you have a number of people, parents, and organizations, including New York City officials, trying to make this stop. Right, last year, the MTA launched a public information campaign in an effort to deter teenagers from hopping on top of moving trains. And the NYPD, they've stepped up their efforts as well, announcing their plan to use drones to catch surfers earlier this month. And this, social media platforms have reportedly started pulling down popular subway surfing videos. But really, there's only so much that New York officials specifically can do. We even saw the MTA New York City Transit president saying that and then adding, we just have to implore parents, teachers, schools, friends, anyone that knows someone that is involving themselves in subway surfing, even thinking about it, to talk about the consequences. That should be the first part of the discussion. This is no game. There's no reset at the end. There's no restart when a person falls. With also Mayor Eric Adams adding, we are doing everything we can to raise awareness against this dangerous trend, but we need all New Yorkers and our social media companies to do their part too. No post is worth your future. But for now, we'll have to wait to see what happens from here, though I will say, as someone who has covered current events for 18 years now, which includes a lot of just what the fuck stories, I don't know how successful outside of social media companies cracking down on this content, what can really be done to dissuade people from doing stupid shit. It's especially horrifying and heartbreaking when you're talking about kids, right? They're so impressionable. But I just think back to the countless number of people we've covered on this show, adults, who just are recipients of Darwin Awards because they try to do something to be famous on the internet. And as long as that incentive or the perceived incentive is there, you can't stop stupid and dangerous. Though also in covering this horrible story, there is hope in the back of my head that maybe even just one life is saved that would not have otherwise been. And then in internet drama news, let's talk about Valkyrie. She's a streamer, a content creator. She just put out a new episode of her podcast. And in it, Valkyrie opens up a box of gifts given to her by her co-host. And in that box was a voodoo doll made to look like Ray's ex-boyfriend, Michael Sherman, aka Sonny, who is also a streamer.
Is this a voodoo doll? I made a voodoo doll of your ex. I hate that man.
Alyssa! That is the most deranged. Oh my god!
I was in my room watching an ADHD documentary, making the voodoo doll in bed. It's so
Why
ugly,
does it
but
actually look like him, bro? This is so troll.
Yeah.
I actually am so scared. Like, what if it actually harms him? Should we test it?
Oh my god.
And so that moment got clipped and shared on the podcast X page, and it currently has over 16 million views. With it blowing up for a number of reasons, but among those views was Sonny himself, who notably responded with a long post calling the clip disturbing and saying that he and Ray haven't spoken in 3 years. And with that, saying the relationship was toxic on both sides, and while they weren't abusive and they didn't cheat, they were each hurt in their own ways. But I'm going on to say, and I absolutely understand if all of this behavior is an attempt for you to heal your toxic past. And then there was some word salad about how she's using her platform to the issues they had in their private relationship, right? Him saying that he wouldn't expect that from her, but people change, I guess. With him then closing, truly hope we can be above the direction in which things are currently going. I have no way of contacting you, but you are more than welcome to message me if you need any more closure. Now, with all that, Ray has not responded directly to what he said or that specific tweet, but one, during a live stream, she said,
I actually am curious how both sides were toxic. Like, the only toxic thing I did was get back with him over and over and over again.
yeah.
And not become a housewife.
And two, it appears that the next chapter of whatever the hell this is will be dropping soon, because her podcast just announced Cheater and Liar episode coming soon. With her and her podcast host then responding to that, and Ray saying, let's have the girl on as a guest, question mark? So yeah, I guess fantastic news for all you Marthas that have broken out the popcorn and love you some internet drama. But then, is YouTube about to make a horrible fucking decision? That's what a lot of people were asking after vidIQ, a tech channel with nearly 2 million subscribers, shared an image on X of YouTube's homepage looking a little different, or with notably there being no view counts or dates on any of the visible videos. With that saying, that big YouTube is testing out this new look, and it immediately gained traction. Places like Dexerto also reporting this was seemingly happening. And so with that, you ended up with a lot of people sharing their thoughts, with one of the biggest complaints seemingly being the removal of dates. With people saying things like, I don't like that. I want to see how old a video is. View count doesn't bother me, but if I'm looking for up-to-date information on something, I don't want a 6-year-old video, you know? And notably, this wasn't just random internet people responding. You had other creators in the tech space also sharing their 2 cents. For example, you had Marquez Brownlee saying, stop chasing Netflix and just be YouTube. But it turns out that all that reporting was fake, or maybe not fake, inaccurate. With Team YouTube chiming in and clarifying that this new look, it may happen, quote, if viewers are watching YouTube with certain browser extensions enabled, which some people took to mean ad blocks, and YouTube then went on to say that if the issue keeps up after these extensions are disabled, file a report and they'll investigate. But then, in my favorite news of the day, just for the fact that I learned a new number, a Russian court has now fined Google $2.5 decillion for censoring pro-Kremlin propaganda. Which, if understandably, you're like, Phil, what the fuck is a decillion? Let me enlighten you, 1 second. That's 2, 5, and then 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Fuck, was that? I don't know if I got it. That's 2, 5, and then 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I blacked out for a second. I think I got it. 32 zeros. We're talking 34 digits in total. Or another way to put it is $2.5 trillion, which then, to do some other fun math, if you take Google's total revenue last year, $306 billion. For the sake of cleanliness, we say, hey, they're just going to keep making that amount of money, and they're just going to give literally all of it to Russia. That means it would take them 8 sextillion, 169 quintillion, 934 quadrillion, 640 trillion, 522 billion, 875 million, 816,993 years and 5 months to pay off the fine. I think I blacked out again. And so as far as how this court arrived at just such a freakish number, it has to do with a weird quirk in Russian law. Because originally the fine for censoring 2 Russian outlets' YouTube channels back in 2020, it was just 100,000 rubles. With Google getting more fines since then for banning other outlets, but even taken together, they're just normal penalties. Thing is though, for whatever reason, those fines double every single week. So you give them 4 years, and by the law of exponential growth, you end up with $2.5 decillion. Now, of course, with this, Google doesn't give 2 fucks about it, never mind 2.5 decillion. Or with them saying in their quarterly report yesterday, it doesn't believe that its legal issues in Russia will have a, quote, material adverse effect. And this is its parent company, Alphabet, enjoyed a nice 5% rise in its stock price the same day. And although the company's free services still operate in Russia, Google doesn't show ads to users and recently deactivated AdSense accounts there, with also Russian authorities seizing Google's bank accounts there in response and forcing its local subsidiary to file for bankruptcy. But yeah, main point being, I covered this story specifically for the numbers stuff. With the just general shit show that is our news cycle, this one put a smile on my face, and I hope it did the same for you. But then, taking a quick break from the news, let's talk about something that I love, and that is snacks. Because if you're looking for something new, or you're the type of person who likes to make an adventure out of your food, you're gonna love our fantastic friend and sponsor over at Boxu. Because Boxu is a premium Japanese snack box that works with family-owned businesses across Japan to deliver a new theme of hand-picked treats every month. Now, the first box that you'll get is Seasons of Japan, right? It's packed with the most popular snacks and unique flavors from each season, which I will say, trust me, there are some real gems in here. And actually, I'll show you a couple of my favorites, starting with the Yokohama butter sandwich cookies. These are sneaky good. At first, you're like, oh, I get a little bit of taste of salt, and then, oh my God, so much good sweet flavor. Oh my God, it's like 2 seconds in. This is making me happy to a questionable level. And then the one bite sesame mochi. It's gonna sound questionable when I say this. Perfectly nutty in my mouth. I mean, we've actually gifted Boxu to friends and family before, and they were blown away. It's a really unique and fun thing, and you kind of bond over tasting all the different snacks and learning about their origins, which is also easy because it comes with a booklet that tells you all about each snack and shows you where they're made. So if you want to treat yourself or others to some authentic Japanese snacks, click the link in the description and use code DeFranco to get $15 off your first Boxu order. Then, Election Day is now less than a week away, but more than 50 million people have already cast their ballots during early voting. And according to the University of Florida's early vote tracker, those millions of early voters are split pretty evenly between registered Democrats and Republicans, around 39% and 36% respectively. And part of the reason we're seeing such high numbers of Republicans voting early this time is in large part due to the fact that Donald Trump has been encouraging his supporters to vote early, which of course is a complete 180 from the 2020 election where he continually attacked the exact same system. But also because of this massive influx of early voters, which has been historic in some of the key swing states, this process hasn't always gone smoothly. Like for example, Pennsylvania found itself at the center of backlash and controversy after a very messy situation that left people in Bucks County waiting for hours, bringing about confusion and frustration, widespread misinformation, and allegations of voter suppression. Now, to be very clear here, Pennsylvania does not technically have early voting. Instead, they have a process that is very different from most states. And actually, it's a system that notably was passed by the state's then Republican legislature back in 2019. And here is how it works. Right? Instead of allowing people to vote early using voting machines like many other states do, Pennsylvania does what's called on-demand mail voting. And to participate in that, registered voters go to their county government offices, request a ballot, and fill out an application. That application is then reviewed on the spot to make sure that the voter is eligible, and once they're approved, the ballot's printed. It's a process that usually takes like 10 to 12 minutes if all goes right. Then, once the ballot is printed, the voter has the choice to fill it out and return it immediately on the same trip, take it home, or have it sent to their house. But when you have this huge surge of voters, 10 to 12 minutes a person, it adds up, especially when given the fact that each election office has just one single printer for the early in-person ballots. And many lack the resources needed to cope with this surge in early voters, with Bucks County officials explaining that they had a fixed number of staff and a fixed budget. And so unsurprisingly, these elections offices were completely overwhelmed and unprepared to deal with the massive influx of people for many of the days that the on-demand process was underway, with offices at times even then turning people away if they got into line too late because staff wouldn't be able to process their applications before closing, telling them to come back again the next day. But of course, big thing, there are only so many next days, and everything really came to a breaking point yesterday, the final day for on-demand mail voting. And so you have these election officials in a super tight spot, right? They only had until midnight to process all the applications for mail-in ballots. And the Pennsylvania Department of State had asked every county to make sure that every voter who was in line by 5 p.m. could at least submit an application for a mail-in ballot. And so to make sure that they could process everyone who got in line by 5 p.m. and still reach that midnight deadline with their limited staff and resources, Bucks County election officials had to make a game time decision. And specifically, what they did is they decided to cut the line of the people who wanted to receive their ballots immediately at 2:45 p.m. But, and this is a key thing here, those people could still apply for ballots. They just couldn't get them at that exact instant, which also meant they couldn't fill them out and return them on the spot. With Bucks County later clarifying on X yesterday that instead they were only given the option to receive their ballot by mail or pick it up later this week. And with that adding, we are aware that due to a miscommunication, individuals in line to apply for on-demand mail-in ballot were briefly told they could not be accommodated. In fact, these voters were given the opportunity to submit mail-in ballot applications on Tuesday, noting that everyone who is still in line by 5 p.m. still was able to apply for their ballot as requested by the Department of State. But all of this, it's still made for a very confusing situation with all the chaos and poor communication prompting allegations, mostly from conservatives here, that people were being denied the right to vote early. With Trump supporters and even top Trump campaign officials claiming that officials were cutting the lines early and preventing people from voting. And with that, also alleging that Democrats were suppressing voters and accusing them of interfering in the election to prevent Republicans from voting. We also saw a lot of Trump folks claiming that Democrats were going around pretending to be cops or election officials and telling people to get out of line, though none of those allegations have been verified. And obviously, we'll keep our eyes open for that. But those main claims of voter suppression suppression and election interference, they were amplified by tons of people all the way at the top, with this including the Republican National Committee, which wrote a letter to the Secretary of the Commonwealth alleging numerous concerning reports from voters about polling sites closing early, not accepting voters, and not counting ballots. The county officials have repeatedly said that these allegations of voter suppression fundamentally misunderstand how the system works and what the county is actually obligated to do under the 2019 law, with the Bucks County spokesperson explaining the Board of Elections office is not a polling place. On-demand, in-person, mail-in ballots are not early voting. This service is offered as a courtesy to voters because we have the equipment to do so. We are happy to accommodate as many voters as we can, but the fact remains that this is not a polling place and our staff needs to be allowed time to fulfill their other duties in furtherance of carrying out the election. But then also another top county official echoing that and explicitly saying that the confusion here has arisen because, quote, political parties and organizations across the political spectrum have been misinforming voters about what on-demand mail-in voting is and is not. But literally as I was recording, a judge has also now hit back on the county's version of things. Because just this morning, the Trump campaign filed a lawsuit against Bucks County seeking to extend the mail-in ballot application deadline. And just hours later, a judge granted that request, extending the deadline to 5 p.m. this Friday. And in that ruling, writing that Bucks County violated the Pennsylvania election code after, quote, turning away voters who sought to apply for a mail-in ballot and receive one in person before the deadline, and ordering the county to allow anyone who wishes to apply for, receive, vote, and return a mail-in ballot before the close of business on Friday. So it seems like there are contradictory understandings of how Pennsylvania's on-demand mail-in system works and what county officials are obligated to do, or specifically whether they need to provide people with ballots immediately or not. Though personally, I think at least with the extension, this is a good thing. Right? Hopefully it'll help voters who are confused or got wrong information by giving them more time. Because regardless, everyone deserves the right to vote and for that vote to count. But then, let's talk about how last night Joe Biden was doing a Get Out the Vote event targeting Latinos that was supposed to help Kamala Harris. An event that, after all the Tony Hinchcliffe stuff, should have essentially been like T-ball. Just walk up and be like, wow, that wasn't cool. But Joe then proceeded to strike out at wiffle ball and somehow in the process hit himself in the dick. Because when he touched on Tony Hinchcliffe calling Puerto Rico garbage as a joke during Trump's rally, he said,
just the other day, a speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Well, let me tell you something. I don't know the Puerto Rican that I know, or Puerto Rico where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of seen as unconscionable.
Now with that, pretty quickly afterwards, Joe Biden put out a tweet. Earlier today, I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think of to describe it. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. That's all I meant to say. The comments at the rally don't reflect who we are as a nation. And so following that, people kind of had two main reactions. One, people taking that explanation at face value, noting that Joe Biden flubbing and not clearly communicating his points is part of the reason he is not the candidate right now. With people then providing numerous examples, though this is definitely the best one.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
But then also, too, you had people swinging at this softball that Joe Biden just lobbed up for Republicans. Right? Politicians, commentators, and just everyday people going after Biden over this comment. Right? Senator Tom Cotton saying Joe Biden called half the country garbage. That's not a gaffe. It's what he and Kamala Harris genuinely think about you. And J.D. Vance writing, this is disgusting. Kamala Harris and her boss Joe Biden are attacking half of the country. With those two reactions definitely being part of a trend of trying to tie Kamala Harris to Joe Biden's comments. So there, one, you had people noting that even before this controversy, Kamala Harris has consistently said she is not Joe Biden. Two, there's seemingly a reason why Joe Biden hasn't been out there on the campaign trail with Harris, which then on that note brings us to three of what Harris was doing at pretty much that exact same moment. She was out on the National Mall giving her closing argument for why people should vote for her in front of about 75,000 people. And during that, she emphasized, one, that almost on that exact spot, Trump did one of the most divisive things a president has ever done and helped push the January 6th insurrection, while adding,
Donald Trump has spent a decade trying to keep the American people divided and afraid of each other. That is who he is. But America, I am here tonight to say that is not who we are. You see, what Donald Trump has never understood is that e pluribus unum, out of many, one, isn't just a phrase on a dollar bill. It is a living truth about the heart of our nation.
And then two, she hit on the complete opposite note and tone of Donald Trump calling those who don't support him the enemy within, and also whatever version of the Joe Biden garbage comment you believe.
I pledge to you to approach my work with the joy and optimism that comes from making a difference in people's lives. And I pledge to be a president for all Americans. And to always put country above party and self.
But then also, after all that, Harris herself has responded to the controversy when answering questions this morning, telling reporters, I think that first of all, he clarified his comments, but let me be clear. I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. You heard my speech last night and continuously throughout my career. I believe that the work that I do is about representing all the people, whether they support me or not. And as a president of the United States, I will be a president for all Americans, whether you vote for me or not. And then, as far as the less immediate reaction online, it's really hard to tell where people are because it's different depending on where you go. There's a lot of people saying that they're outraged, but also a ton of really popular posts making fun of Republican outrage over this, or pointing to the constant enemy within talk, the anti-LGBTQ, anti-immigrant, often racist stuff that kind of just gets a pass. But realistically, the internet is the internet. It doesn't always follow suit with real life. And as far as if this is going to affect the election, we probably won't know until election day. We're now just 6 days away from the election. We got everyone throwing out predictions based off of polls, fucking betting markets, just general vibes. But yeah, we will know soon enough. Which actually, on that note, on election day, I will have a Philip DeFranco show, but then also after, I'm going to be live streaming the election. So we can keep up with everything coming in together and just stew in anxiety together. All right here on youtube.com/DeFranco. But that's the end of today's show. Thank you so much for watching. For more news that YouTube thinks you're interested in, you can click or tap right here. Also, if you want to get a fantastic deal on one of the best shirts you'll ever wear in your entire life, you can click right here, get something over at beautifulbastard.com. It also helps support the show. Thanks again. I love yo faces, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.
As AI reshapes the future of customer service, we know consumers are skeptical. It only takes one misstep to lose their trust. At Gladly, we do AI differently. Our unified service platform places the customer at the center of every interaction, allowing both AI and human
this
support
kid,
to make
he
every
really
experience
wants
personal
to
and valuable.
eat people.
This
Literally.
isn't basic automation.
Now, his name is Isai.
Gladly's
He's
AI
from
turns
Japan, and
troubleshooting
he
into
comes
an
from a
engaging
really wealthy
conversation.
family.
Why
And
search
one
for
day,
answers
he's
when
in
Gladly
class
knows
in
who
the
you
first
are
grade,
exactly
and
what
he
you
starts noticing his classmate's legs. And Isai is like, damn, that leg looks... So this kid, he really wants to eat people. Literally. Now, his name is Isai, and he's from Japan, and he comes from a really wealthy family. And one day, he's in class in the first grade, and he starts noticing his classmate's legs. And Isai is like, damn, that leg looks kind of tasty. And in fact, it looks so tasty to him that he kind of has the urge to bite into it. And his classmate is a boy, and he doesn't even like boys. And that's when Isai realizes that he kind of wants to eat people. And from that point on, he regularly fantasizes about gnawing on people constantly. And as the years pass, this fantasy of his just gets stronger and stronger. He has a thing for Western women who are tall, because, you know, he's a short king. So he wants to eat a tall white woman. And eventually, Isai grows up, and he's 24 years old, and by this point, he's going out of his mind with these cannibalism fantasies. And that's when he finally gets an opportunity. Because one day, around this time, he notices a young German woman, and she's tall and white. So Isai, he low-key starts to follow her around, even following her to her home. And in doing that, he notices that when the weather is warm, she leaves her bedroom window open at night. So then one night, he decides he's gonna go for it. He's gonna sneak into her apartment, cut off a piece of her, and he's gonna eat it. So he goes to her apartment, and he climbs in and he creeps through her window while she's there in her bed sleeping. So now he's in her apartment, and unfortunately for him, she hears him, and suddenly, bam, she wakes up, and she starts screaming, and she freaks out, and she pushes him down to the ground because, you know, he's not very big, so she overpowers him. And Isai panics, and he's like, oh shit, and he runs away. But unfortunately for him, she calls police.
All right, guys, happy Halloween. For those of you that celebrate Halloween, boy, oh boy, do I have a spooky story for me close to the very beginning, and I don't even want to make you guys wait, so let's get right into it. Welcome back to Candace. It has always been problematic, and so has his father. His father, allegedly, his full name is Oscar Wilde Brown Joseph Harris. That honestly should have been the first red flag. How many names can one man have? I'm just showing you guys a photo of Mr. Oscar Wilde Brown Joseph Harris, and in Kamala's book, reminding you that she said that when she was 10 months old, she visited Spanish Town, Jamaica, and this was her with her mother and her paternal grandfather. This photo is her with them, and Oscar Joseph is what she refers to him as in the book, which would be his middle name. Okay. So allegedly, that guy has always been problematic because he's allegedly the person that got with Beryl, who we could not find a photo of, but then we were able to determine that the Beryl that Kamala showed us in her book was not Beryl. This was a faked grandma. So again, just getting very problematic in that part of the family tree. Donald, problem. Dad Oscar, problem. His alleged lover, Beryl, a problem. His alleged mother, this is Oscar Harris's alleged mother, Christiana, a problem. It's like everyone in this family tree is made up. Just made up. So yesterday we introduced to you guys a problem regarding the fact that we were able to find Oscar Brown, allegedly that's his birth name, right, in various obituaries, which would seemingly confirm that he was in fact a part of the Hamilton Brown family tree, which is what Donald asserts in his piece, Jamaica Global Online, that Christiana Brown was a descendant of the slaver Hamilton Brown. And finding Oscar Brown in these various obituaries was a good thing because you're like, okay, at least he's here. It makes sense. If these are your aunts and uncles, you would be at their funerals. And he was listed as the pallbearer, but we were confused by the fact that in these various obituaries, he's also listed as a first cousin. And that's weird because, and this is just an example, this is Edwin C. Brown's obituary. It's weird that he is being listed as a first cousin because, well, he's supposed to be the nephew. Maybe they made a mistake. Maybe they didn't make a mistake. I don't know. I don't feel like these are the sorts of mistakes that are being made. It just seems like this is a very shady family. More shady things were, well, the fact that we found out about his very long lifetime marriage with Vioris Cambridge, who Kamala had a very close lifelong relationship with, but whom she completely failed to mention throughout her entire book, throughout her entire career, throughout her many speeches. She's just like Xing out family members that she was close to. So what gives? What gives? Well, we know that the Harris family tree has extremely close ties to Canada that we have never been able to explain. We've never been able to explain why it seems that every relative we find cycles through Canada at some point. I told you that we had that woman who reached out on the other side of the Harris family and said, confirmed that she shared a great-grandfather with Kamala Harris. She herself was living in Canada and asserted to us that they were Syrian Jews. And I'm just going, what is this Canadian connection? Then we know Kamala obviously did a large portion of her schooling in Canada. The Harris family is somehow connected to Canada. There is no question regarding that. So there's Jamaica, there's Canada, and there's America. That's where they seem to all be cycling through, which is why an email that I received yesterday caught my attention. It was a relatively short email. I'm going to show it to you. This is it in its entirety. The person just wrote, hey, these documents are from Family Search, a 1931 census. Wealth allowed for travel. And of course, quote, I grew up a middle-class kid. That's all the person said. And they attached a document. And so my immediate instinct, I just saw the beginning of that, just like you're seeing it, is all I saw on my phone. It says Oscar Harris, a male, 17 years old, birthplace, Ontario, Canada. And it says he's born in 1914. Well, that checks out. Oscar Joseph Harris. I'm not going to dismiss this because he was indeed born in 1914. If there is a census record that says that Oscar Joseph Harris is 17 years old in 1931, that would make sense. And look, there could be more Oscar Joseph Harrises. That's not something that I'm closing my mind to, but I'm just noting that actually, in all of our research, truly, this would be the first time that I've seen his last name in his youth. Okay, because we just keep seeing Brown. He was Oscar Brown, Oscar Brown, Oscar Brown, Paul Barrow, Oscar Brown, Oscar Brown, Oscar Brown. And then magically at some point we're supposed to believe that he just became Oscar Joseph Harris. What's even more odd is that he was Oscar Wilde Brown. So I'm going in my mind, I'm like, I can't even remember, I've looked at so many documents. Have we even seen a birth certificate for Oscar Wilde Brown Joseph Harris? So I texted my producer last night asking that question. I'm like, hey, did we ever get a birth certificate for Oscar Harris? And he says, yeah, we did. And he sends me one, which we've shown on the show, and it's from St. Anne, Jamaica. But this birth certificate is for Oscar Wilde Brown. Okay? You see that it's signed by a Lydia Brown, and it's in 1914. It says it's in the 5th of April, 1914, in Orange Hill, St. Anne. That's the correct area. And it's Oscar Wilde Brown. So I text him back, and I'm like, when did this guy become Joseph Harris? Is that like a weird thing? And shockingly, we missed this, probably because we've been looking at way too many documents. But apparently, he took on that name when he was 36 years old. And then he went back to the registrar's office and he had them manually update his birth certificate to reflect that change in 1950. This is a close-up. It says Oscar Joseph Harris. They just put that under a baptismal name. He's just going to decide that on this day and on December 12th of 1950, at the ripe age of 36, that he's now Oscar Joseph Harris, whole new name. Let me tell you something, I'm a Christian. That's not how baptisms work. You don't get to just pick a whole new last name and a whole new entire name simply because you get baptized. And least of all, would you expect somebody to do that who is male, and somebody to do that who is male at the age of 36, who's had their entire life under a different name, Oscar Wilde Brown. So what is this? I'm going, what is this? Is it possible? And now I'm taking you guys through my thoughts, okay? I'm taking you guys through my thoughts. I'm going, is it possible that Oscar Wilde Brown was this person who existed and lived in Jamaica, okay, who was in fact the first cousin of Edwin Harris and of Mabel Harris, and who was the pallbearer in his early 20s when his first cousins died? Is it plausible that that is a real person? And then this Oscar Harris guy maybe finds out this guy dies and decides to just like take on his life. It's just like, find me an Oscar who like lived and died, who was born in 1914. And the reason my mind is going here, and I'll be honest, that's conspiracy land, is because we've never been able to locate Donald Harris's birth certificate. But we very oddly did find a Donald Harris who
Now it's time for Lefties Losing It. So let's check in with the leader of the free world. Remember him? The man who is currently president, allegedly. The man who has, with Kamala Harris, seen the country plunged into an illegal immigration crisis, a cost of living crisis. The dude who talks about fascists even as he tries to bankrupt and imprison his chief political opponents. Well, here is President Joe Biden calling half of America, half of the country, human garbage.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Yep, they're still having a meltdown about a little joke told by Tony Hinchcliffe. Not by Trump, by the way. Trump didn't say the joke. And the media is fanning the flames. They've spent more time on this nothing joke than they did on the Trump assassination attempts. They're scared. That's why the Kamala campaign is faltering badly. They are getting increasingly desperate. And this is despite the fact that the Harris campaign is outspending Trump and the Republicans by a huge margin, spending more than 3 times the Republicans last month. But the message is faltering. Could it be because their candidate is uniquely hopeless? Watch here as Kamala takes a jubilant moment at a rally where everyone is chanting her name and completely kills the vibe. Then she laughs hysterically for some reason.
Couldn't figure it out. I was trying everything, but then looked like she had a stomach ache again the next day. And the day after that, a veterinarian.
Now I want each of you to shout your own name. Do that.
Yeah, that worked really well. As for the ads and celebrity endorsements, well, they continue to be cringe. Here is wannabe first husband Doug, knock 'em up, knock 'em out, M off, starring in an ad with Doc Rivers. Watch this and you'll understand why the Democrats have a man problem.
All right, Coach. Doug, you're going to travel across all these swing states, right? And you're going to make sure that folks know that Kamala is going to take care of all of them just like she takes care of her family.
Yeah.
Tony, you have to make sure everyone knows that Kamala is going to support their families. Wes, you're going to make sure everyone knows that Kamala is an effective government partner.
You got it, Coach.
And all of you must head to iwillvote.com to make your plan to vote. To vote for Kamala.
I'm convinced that's just so bad. And if you thought that was bad, take a look at these lefties losing it. The Democrat groups who have released a pro-pornography ad showing a man masturbating to an X-rated clip. Then he's interrupted by a Republican who apparently is going to ban porn under the Trump administration. This is what pure desperation looks like, folks. And I can't show you the full ad because it's obscene.
Oh! Sorry, you can't do that.
What the hell, man? How'd you get in here?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're banning porn nationwide.
You can't tell me what to do. Get out of my bedroom, you creep.
I won the last election, so it's my decision. I'm just gonna watch and make sure you don't finish illegally.
Oh dear. Yeah, I can see why they have a man problem. But there are white dudes for Kamala, and a lot of them need help. Check out this one, broken by Trump derangement syndrome.
What's your biggest obstacle in life right now?
My biggest obstacle in life? Trump. Trump, absolutely. So
do you wake up and think about him?
Yes, constantly, every day.
Do you go to sleep and think about him?
Yes, every day.
Are you in love with him?
I hate his guts.
Here is another white dude for Kamala, triggered by a Veterans for Trump sign. Watch what he does.
Over to this yard sign that reads Veterans for Trump, abruptly kicks it and wanders off. A minute later, he's back again, his eyes focused on the home. Then just after 6, our friend returns a third time, something yellow in his hand, a piece of paper he leaves in the mailbox.
And the lowlife isn't done yet. Not content with seemingly stalking the house and kicking the sign, he left this note for the man who is risking his life for America.
It talks about how I was a disgrace to my country and a disgrace to the U.S. military because of my choice in candidate. And, you know, at the very end of the letter, he actually tells me to go to hell.
That's the tolerant, inclusive left for you folks. And that's down in Florida. Can you imagine how triggered that guy is going to be after Election Day? Let's hear now from the woman herself. We need more Kamala in our lives. She's doing more interviews these days, and that means we're getting more incoherent gibberish like this.
Knowing that we also have the honor and the duty of excelling in every way possible, being able to see what is possible and not be burdened by other people's limited ability to see the same.
I guess she can always go back to calling Trump a fascist, perhaps inciting another assassination attempt.
You called Donald Trump a fascist. The top Republicans in Congress have called on you to tone down your rhetoric. They say it's, quote, irresponsible anti-Trump rhetoric. And they're saying what you're doing could invite another assassination attempt against Donald Trump. How would you respond to that?
Well, first of all, I condemn any political violence of any sort against anyone. But again, don't take it from me.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump doesn't have to spend anywhere near as much as Democrats when he's got folks on social media taking his words and setting them to music like this. This is the latest viral sensation.
Joe Biden is asleep. Kamala is at a dance party with Beyonce. Beyonce, 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 Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. Beyonce, 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 Beyonce. Party with Beyonce. Beyonce, Beyonce, Beyonce. Dance party with 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 Beyonce. 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 Dance party with Beyonce. Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. Beyonce, 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 Beyonce. Party with Beyonce, Beyonce.
Joining me now for more is filmmaker and commentator Ami Horowitz. Ami, a political panel on CNN has had an almighty meltdown over a joke made by a conservative commentator, Ryan Gadowski. He made the joke towards a pro-Palestinian journalist, Mehdi Hassan. This is a man who calls half the country Nazis, but apparently that's fine. But when a conservative makes a joke about a pager going off, let's see the reaction. Let's see the absolute meltdown.
If you don't want to be called Nazis, stop doing it.
You've been called an anti-Semite more than anyone else's table.
Yeah.
And people will sit there and, no, by me, I never called you an anti-Semite. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, well, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. The thing is
Did
that...
you just say I should die?
You should not.
No,
Did you just say I should be killed?
No, I didn't.
Of course, he goes straight into victim mode, interpreting the comment as some sort of a death threat. He did say, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. He didn't want it to explode. And the hysteria continued.
All right,
defend Rudy Giuliani.
I wasn't going to entertain nonsense today, and so at this point,
This is what we're in now. This is America in 2024.
Here's what I will say.
Forget the
Here's what
racism.
That's right.
It's I should
That's
die.
right.
I didn't say that. You should die.
What does beeper mean? Don't give me your fake
I did not say you should die.
Why did you say with my beeper?
What did you mean?
What did you mean by the beeper?
So what did you mean?
What did you mean by the
No,
beeper? No, you didn't. You said, I hope your beeper doesn't go off.
Ryan, stop talking.
At least have the guts to support your racist comment.
I'm so sorry. But I will tell you, I don't accept that apology, and you didn't even say it to me.
That's fine. I didn't say it to you.
That was disgusting. But I can be offended when you don't even say it to me. I'm not Puerto Rican, but I was offended by what he said yesterday.
The hyperbole is off the charts. That lone conservative was taken off air, and now Army has been banned from CNN.
Yeah, first of all, Rita, I sure hope that Rita Pani extended Danzo mix that I saw before is going to make it on air. So I like the moves that I saw, Rita. And by the way, for my TikTok Gen Z fans out there, before I start, I want to say thank you, Beyonce. I don't want to die. All right, moving on. Mehdi Hassan, yes. Why was Mehdi Hassan? Mehdi Hassan is a man, just so we have some context here, right? He was fired from MSNBC. He was fired because he had horrible ratings. He was no Rita Panahi when it came to the ratings. That's for sure. That's for certain. But yes, like you alluded to before, prior to that exchange, he went on and essentially said that every Republican, 50% of this country are fascists and Nazis. I would take offense to that. And of course, Gadowski did, because he is one of them. So he was essentially being called a Nazi by this guy. Now, what do I think he's guilty of? Okay, it was a lame joke, for sure. It wasn't really appropriate for CNN. Also, I get where he was coming from. He was upset. It was a heated exchange. And by the way, Mehdi Hassan, not exactly a shrinking violet when it comes to attacking his opponents, right? So let's be clear about that. And then, of course, the reaction by CNN, of course, it was over the top, right? They had to come with a statement where they said, hey, we don't accept bigotry. We don't want crossing the line of civility.
And that hypocrisy is just so blatant. Like you said, he called half the country fascist. That's fine. There's no problem with that. But they lose their minds over that little joke by Tony Hinchcliffe about Puerto Rico. They're still talking about that. And this joke about a beeper going off apparently is the worst thing that's ever happened on CNN. Just on that Puerto Rico joke, which is still, I can't believe I'm still hearing about it. Joe Biden has responded by calling half of America garbage.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Joe isn't really helping Kamala in these moments, is he, Mia? Do you think he...
Stop telling people you're going to write a book and finally get it done. You know your book is...
Our food now is a science experiment.
This is the difference between the international and the American Fruit Loops.
85% of the food that you're consuming started from a patented seed sold by a chemical corporation that was responsible for creating Agent Orange in the Vietnam War.
What is going on with our food industry? For years, I've always heard, ooh, red 40 bad and seed oil's bad and oh, things are getting so harmful, but I never really looked into it. Honestly, I didn't start looking into it more until as I've gotten older, I've made a couple of really kind of shocking and concerning realizations. One, the United States spends more money on healthcare than any other high-income nation out there, but we're the most sick. Like, we're the most sick, we're getting sicker every year, and our life expectancy is going down. It's like from arthritis to diabetes, inflammation, gut health issues, infertility issues. It's like, why? With as advanced as we are and how much money we spend, you think we'd be healthier, but we're not. Two, over in Europe, they have a list of banned chemicals and things you can't eat over there because they're so harmful for the body, but in the United States, they're illegal. So now you add on this other layer of like, okay, why are these companies selling healthy food in the UK but not in America? You're selling these foods in Europe that are all clean, or have all these bad ingredients, but then you come over here back to America and you're selling us all the chemical and then basically the science experiments. And then three, it's literally a business. From medical schools to hospitals to insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies, they make more money the sicker we are. Dr. Casey Mean put it the best. She said that these are the largest and fastest growing industries in America right now, and they profit off of having more patients, having more done to them for longer periods of time. And then for the longest of time, I'm sitting here like, okay, well, this is all just stupid. Like, none of this makes sense. Why would they be out here purposely harming us? But like I said before, they're doing just that. They know these chemicals are harmful, and the UK and many other countries are banning these chemicals, but they purposely keep selling it here because it's legal and it's cheap and they want their profit margins to be high. And then I dig deep even further and I'm like, okay, I'm always told to trust the experts and trust the medical organizations and the nonprofits. They all have our best interest at heart. But these are the same corporations and companies and medical schools that were pushing cigarettes on everybody and that cigarettes were okay. I mean, we can even talk about modern day now, and in 2020, the sheer amount of things that they got wrong is like, it's clear that we can't always trust the experts, let alone the experts who have conflicts of interest, and the people in the companies that are working hand in hand with the people that is selling you the bad food, making you sick, work hand in hand with the people selling you the medicine to cure, not even cure, but to hide the symptoms of what's making you sick to begin with. Like, quite literally, the same people making you sick are selling you the treatments to cure your sickness. Again, it goes back to this never-ending loop of just very sus behavior. And this doesn't stop with just like Chick-fil-A or Taco Bell or anything like that. I'm talking about like farmers, like our food. In 2018, Bayer, a pharmaceutical biotech company, one that focuses on treating cancer, bought Monsanto, a chemical-turned agricultural company, one that has been known and is facing lawsuits for causing cancer, for $66 billion cash. Again, what are we doing here? And be sure to subscribe because I have a video diving deep into Monsanto and Bayer and the countless lawsuits and conspiracies that surround them, because that's a whole series. So be sure to subscribe because that is something that I am working on. But back to the food, I do want to make a good note that as we dive into this video and we hear the different perspectives of people talking about our food industry and big pharma, I'm not perfect either. I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't just have Taco Bell or Chick-fil-A earlier this week and I don't have Starbucks sitting right here. I'm learning and I'm adjusting and I'm not perfect. So I do want to make that note that I'm not sitting here eating healthy all the time and shaming anybody. No, I try my best to eat healthy. I cook like 80% of the time, but the other half, no, I'm getting takeout or I got my Starbucks. And right after I film this video, I'm getting me some Dos Bros. So again, like I said before, as we dive into this video, we're going to hear a lot of different perspectives from big pharma and the medical industry. So let's just dive right into it.
I learned early on that the food industry, and this is my construct, the food industry and the processed food industry was created by the cigarette industry. And I think this is very telling. It's something I learned. So in the 1990s, the two largest food companies in the world were R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris. What happened is when the Surgeon General way too late in the 1980s said cigarettes were maybe problematic, these were some of the largest companies in the world with the largest cash piles of any company in the world. So what they did is they used their cash piles to buy food companies. We think about the 80s as the Wall Street era M&A, a lot of deals. The two biggest M&A deals up until 1990 in world history were cigarette companies buying food companies. So you had in the 90s these two cigarette companies very strategically do two things. They shifted their thousands of scientists who were experts at making cigarettes addictive to the food department. So we had the rise of ultra-processed food where our food now is a science experiment.
Which, isn't it funny how like we have this huge rise of like all the TV dinners and the processed foods, and now years later everybody's dealing with all these effects. Like, I know all the time correlation isn't causation, but like, let's be real here. We're introduced to a lot of things that our bodies and just our human existence is not used to. And then when you think about the lobbyists in the cigarette industry, like I said before, going back to all these doctors making all these ads talking about, oh, it's okay to smoke cigarettes, it's fine. Everybody was getting a check, everybody was getting paid all at the expense of the consumer. Make it make sense. Literally, you could smoke on an airplane. There are people smoking in elevators, cars, in restaurants, like, and it took people to die, people to get cancer, to realize like, hey, this is actually bad. So it does make you wonder what's the modern day version of that, you know? Like, there was all the talcum powder crisis with all the kids and the baby powder causing cancer, and then like asbestos in the ceilings and lead poisoning. Like, there's a lot of things that are introduced that seem fine in the moment, but years later, as we get older, as it accumulates in our body and we're always around it, people are getting sick, and it's okay to highlight that and talk about it.
They shifted their institutions of trust to food, so they created the food pyramid. So the cigarette industry, through the food companies they bought, paid off the FDA, the USDA, Harvard to create reports saying sugar doesn't cause obesity. And they lobbied for the food pyramid in the 1990s, we all remember, which said, you know, animal-based fats are bad, carbs are good. Remember, carbs and sugar were basically the base of the pyramid. So the American diet, because of that, because we trust our medical institutions, which they know, we shifted our diet significantly to ultra-processed food. It was very intentional, the food pyramid. That was a ultra-processed food marketing document that carbs were fine, sugar was fine. And that shifted, and you look at dietary patterns. Today, a child diet is 70% ultra-processed food. Now, what does that mean, right? Those are literally foods invented by the cigarette industry to addict kids. You know, obviously we've got sugar, but there's thousands of different ingredients and science concoctions that scientists work in a lab to make it more palatable, to make it more addictive. So food consumption, calorie consumption has skyrocketed. And the byproduct of these toxic ingredients that the cigarette industry I watched and helped with this, bought off the USDA, bought off the FDA, is they wreak havoc among our cells. The foundation of our diet is ingredients that we aren't biologically made to eat, that didn't exist 100 years ago.
Isn't that just crazy? Like, it's different to have me just eating sticks and twigs, honestly. Like, forget all the food at this point, because this is just crazy, because there's so much to unpack. We have so much to look into, especially regarding the cigarette industry, buying other companies, and then when you think about the food pyramid, because I do remember the food pyramid, especially growing up, it's like looking at that now, that's a disgusting pyramid. Like, we see it ain't working. When you look at the rise of obesity in our children, when you look at the rise of all these illnesses, and I mean, the list can go on. It's very evident that America is not a healthy country, even all the money we spend every year. It's like there's something we're all consuming. There's something that we all have in common here in the States that is making us blow up, that is making us sick. And it seems to be all the ultra-processed foods and the things that just didn't exist 100 years ago. And it's okay to point that out. You're not woo-woo, you're not crazy to believe you're sitting here thinking like, maybe these ingredients that are all in this package of food that I can't even pronounce aren't the best for me. And something I do think about is, you know, when you have a headache and you take a Tylenol, then your headache's gone. It's like the chemical in that pill, you were able to digest it, put it in your stomach, and obviously it doesn't work like this, but like, stay with me. Travels back up into your brain, and then boom, your headache's gone off of that one chemical. So it makes you wonder, like, what are all these other chemicals doing that we're slowly adding up throughout the day, and all these processed foods? And, you know, this isn't just pressed coffee beans and water. Like, there's chemicals in this, and like the pumpkin syrup and the vanilla. Like, there's synthetic things in it. As it compounds in our body, what is that doing to us, and how is it harming us? It's sad. It bothers me, because this is like one of the worst parts of capitalism. Like, I'm a big fan of capitalism, but this is one of the worst parts, is when you take it to the point where all your profits are at the expense of the consumer. It's not fair. And just like there's a lot of these companies getting away with harming its workers and its consumers, you have to make sure that you are covered if this ever happens to you, or if you're just injured in general. But thankfully, if you do, you can check out Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Everything is free unless you you win your case, which that alone is mind-blowing in itself. But not just that, their lawyers don't play. Someone got offered $20 million pre-trial, and then they linked up with Morgan & Morgan, and boom, they ended up getting $120 million. This person right here got offered $16,000 pre-trial, and Morgan said, nah, I need you to add a couple zeros to that. And a lot of us haven't even gone through something like this, but we're all aware if you're gonna tackle a major company, you're gonna need a major law firm to back you up. And Morgan & Morgan would do just that to fight and get you every penny that you deserve if you become their client. It only takes a few minutes to see if you have a case, and you can do that by going over to forthepeople.com/Amir. And as you see here, you can receive your free case evaluation on a multitude of case types. And remember, when you hire Morgan & Morgan, you're not just getting a lawyer, you're getting a whole dedicated legal team. Case investigators, paralegals, and customer case specialists that are all focused on maximizing your settlement. So if you ever got seriously injured or you're injured now, your case could be worth millions, and you're only a few clicks away from finding out and changing your life forever. You can start your claim now with Morgan & Morgan by going to forthepeople.com/Amir, which is in the link below, or you can scan the QR code here on the screen. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
80% of medical schools in the United States don't require a single nutrition course, not 1 minute of nutrition. And yet 90% of our healthcare costs are tied to diseases. The things that are torturing American lives are tied to food. And doctors, it's not a hammer in our toolbox. I didn't learn at Stanford Medical School that 95% of the people on the USDA Food Guidelines for America Committee had a conflict of interest with the food industry. I didn't learn that there were 8,000 conflicts of interest at the NIH. I didn't learn that there are 8 billion tons of plastic on planet Earth that are degrading into estrogen, analogs. I did not learn that there's 6 billion pounds of pesticides sprayed on our global food supply every single year, most from China and Germany, and that these are literally tied very strongly to Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, obesity, mitochondrial dysfunction, infertility, ADHD, liver dysfunction.
How you at Stanford, you weren't taught this? And this is just something that they're just not teaching people. Because something growing up, I always did wonder, it's why does it seem like no one's trying to solve anything? It's always suppress this symptom, suppress this symptom. It was always oh, you have a headache, that means go take Tylenol. When in reality, you probably just need some water. Or, oh, you have heartburn, go take some Tums. When in reality, you probably just ate something that your body does not sit well with. All these conflicts of interest that she talks about, because again, it goes back to my main, I don't know the word for it, but the main blocker for me, the main reason why sometimes I do feel okay, this is all crazy talk, none of this makes sense, it's some big conspiracy, is because it's why are they just out here willingly making us sick and hiding these things? But, you really can't underestimate profit. You can't underestimate getting a check and providing for your family and just shutting up. And as long as in your lifetime, these next 40, 50 years you're on this planet, you're putting in the work and you're providing a good life for your family, and that's all that matters to you, you might do whatever it takes. And even for me now with this YouTube channel, I've turned down crazy amounts of money from mobile game apps, the gambling stuff and companies. I've turned down those things because that's not something I'm behind, and I'm not going to market those things. And I've turned down offers from big media companies because no one can buy my voice. I value staying independent. So when it comes to all these people actively poisoning us or suppressing things or paying off the NIH or the USDA and working in cahoots and lobbying the whole nine, it's it starts to get more realistic when you think about the people who who are saying, there's personal responsibility. Yes, I work for the feds. Yes, I'm lobbying to keep all these chemicals in the food, but I know for me and my family, 1, I'm getting a check, and 2, I am cooking healthy food for them. It goes back to, I think it was Steve Jobs, somebody in tech was they kids don't use iPads. Whole time, the iPads are used by kids, by consumers all the time. It's a little bit of something like that. And it does make you wonder how many chronic diseases are caused by just what we eat. I think the New York Times, somebody put out an article, because this person, Dr. Casey Means, her brother, Callie, RFK Jr., the food babe, a bunch of people got together in DC and was talking about our food industry. And this major magazine said they're the woo-woo caucus and they're all crazy and the chemicals aren't that bad. But it's why is it that majority of the people that do eat a lot of eggs, eat the raw milk, just dairies, veggies, fruit, lots of organic, grass-fed, regenerative farming type food, and they work out every day, they're getting their steps in, they're taking their supplements, why do they all look like snacks? Everybody's attractive. Everybody looks great. Everybody seems healthy. They're taking care of their bodies. And then you have all these people advocating for all the chemicals, and it's y'all the ones that are sick. It doesn't add up to me. You can't sit here and tell me. I mean, hell, the health minister Ministry? Let me look this up real quick. Yeah, it's like no shade, but like, why is this our Secretary of Health? When you look at the Secretary of Health or the people who work in health, it's like, y'all ain't healthy. I'm sorry. Like, these are the same people hipping and hollering about people drinking raw milk and bunch of steaks and grass-fed butter. It's like, it's apparent.
At New York Presbyterian, we've built up our experience over decades with heart surgery procedures that set the standard.
That there is a major shakeup going on within a lot of industries, especially in 2024, and who knows what it's going to be like next year. But there's a lot of things being shaken up. And one of the things we're talking about today that's being shaken up is this food industry and big pharma. Because you can't tell me that ever since I was a little kid, I need to follow this food pyramid, eat a bunch of breads, the sugars are okay, all the processed foods are okay, the chemicals are okay, the red 40s are okay, like everything is fine. You're telling me that my entire life. When all this was introduced around the time when I was born, or like, you know, early on, like the 60s, 70s, 80s, I was a 90s baby. That's when it was introduced. Now, some 30 to 40, 50 years later, you got all these different people and these kids now that are growing up on it. We're a declining country regarding our health. Obesity skyrocketing, diabetes skyrocketing, kids and young people with diabetes, heart issues, arthritis, inflammation, gut health issues, sinus issues. Like, there's so much wrong. And there is something we all have in common, and it may be, like mentioned in the other videos, these chemicals that we've just now introduced to our bodies is doing something bad. So it's no wonder you have a rise of people screaming at the rooftops about how bad things have gotten. And yes, no, instead of me eating all these processed foods and then taking all the Tums and the Advils and taking all these prescription drugs, maybe if I just go back to whole foods and what is provided on this earth and what sustained us, all of humanity, sustained us, all of humanity, all the food. I think it's like 80% of food in grocery stores didn't exist 100 years ago. Humans have been around longer than 100 years. I'm sorry. So all the food that sustained us for hundreds and hundreds of years, why don't we just go back to that? Because it's apparent that people who have gone back to that, who do cook the whole foods, who do focus on eating at home and staying away from all the oil, the seed oils and the chemicals and this, that, and the other, they're healthy people. They look good. So maybe there is some truth to that.
Whole history of seed oil as well. See how fast I can do this. Seed oils are only made possible at scale by the invention of industrial equipment that can be used to extract them. And thus, humanity never ate seed oils in significant quantities until the early 1900s. So they are a completely novel addition to the American diet. And in particular, they represent 20% of the calories that Americans consume. So not only are they brand new, which is, you know, if you understand health, ancestral health, whatever it is, you understand that we evolved to eat certain things and not to eat other things. No one evolved to eat seed oils because they didn't exist. How could you have? So not only do we have this new thing, it's also being consumed in quantities unlike any other ingredient.
I think that is the best and most clear example of why some people think seed oils are bad. And you don't even have to, it's just a matter of being honest with yourself and sitting back and just thinking about the truth for a second and saying, hey, we're talking about something that didn't exist at all. And yes, we're not dying immediately as soon as we eat a cheeseburger from McDonald's and that has all the seed oils in it. But after a long amount of time, what is happening to these people? Again, if you're coming across someone who's acting like they know it all, it's okay to sit back and acknowledge that maybe we don't. Be a little humble. Be a little just be open to new ideas. Like, just allow yourself to really just sit back and think, like, you know what? Our world as it exists now, this is not how our world functioned online, the YouTube, cell phones. None of this was a thing back in the day. So what are these things doing now? What is staring at a screen all day doing to our bodies? Well, I know for me, that's why I have laser eye surgery. I have other videos where I'm not even wearing these glasses. These are just blue light glasses. I have them because staring at a screen all day, editing and talking, it does make my eyes watery. It does give me headaches. Like, there are things that this screen is doing to my health. So it is okay to ponder and wonder, like, what are these other things doing to my health? And I think that's such a clear example of just like, hey, you know what? I may not have the answers. I may not know that much about seed oils. I may not be that familiar with them, that knowledgeable. But what I do know is that it didn't exist 100 years ago. What I do know is that the people who eat it constantly in their diet, they're getting sick. They're constantly facing anxiety, depression, all these different medical ailments. And I know that the people that avoid that do not. Very, very anecdotal. I get it. But you also have agency in your own life and what you choose to digest. And while, yes, I do enjoy me some good old seed oils and a nice Mexican pizza from Taco Bell. Ooh, Mexican pizza. Add a little steak, a little rice, and the guacamole. And then you get 2 Doritos Locos Tacos, fresco style. Fresco style, let me put you on. This is pico. Pico and lettuce. Fresco style, ooh, with the nacho fries. See, now I want some. But see, like, it's addicting. It's so good. It's so good, but in moderation. And what I do know is that the people who eat like that constantly nonstop, there's a lot of issues there. There just is. Again, anecdotal, but damn it, our whole lives anecdotal at this point. We're all a giant experiment. Everything's new. So to claim you have the answers, you're capping, you're lying. Like in 2020, everybody had all the answers. This stuff is new, and it was all a lie. Make no sense to me.
So that cereal companies like Kellogg's use ingredients in their cereals in the United States that they can't use and won't use in other countries like Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia. Why should you care? Let's talk about it. These are the ingredients for the American Fruit Loops, which include artificial dyes like Red 40 and preservatives like BHT. Fruit Loops in countries like the UK, instead of being artificially dyed, color their cereal with plant extracts like nettle and spinach and carrots and black currants and paprika instead of artificial dyes. It's also important to note that the American Fruit Loops, this little guy, contains genetically modified grains like GMO corn, which can be higher in the herbicide glyphosate, which is not found in international cereals. Why should you care? There are many studies to show that artificial dyes, preservatives, and herbicide are associated with inflammatory problems, disrupting the gut microbiome, triggering autoimmune problems, behavioral problems in children, neuroinflammation, which is why they are outlawed in other countries. Here's another study showing that red dye 40 causes DNA damage, impacting the gut microbiome and triggering colitis or inflammatory bowel issues in mice. This is the difference between the international and the American Fruit Loops.
And it's like you have people debating this topic, arguing about it all day long. But to me, anecdotal, or I don't know, I feel like it's just common sense. If something's just colored with plants and another is colored with a bunch of chemicals, I would argue that one's better than the other, because who knows the long-term effects. We're just now, like the other person said, we're just now finding out all these plastics are in our body, finding out that all these Teflon, the non-stick coating on some, not Teflon, maybe not Teflon exactly, but the non-stick pans, especially from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, they're all making you sick. They all have cancerous stuff in them. Again, we're a giant anecdotal experiment. And this is something that it's to me, just to me, my opinion, my YouTube channel, seems very clear and concise. One's good, one's bad. And it's crazy because these food companies and all these cereals, they're in our schools. Like, they're subsidized by the government. The government's paying for all these big bulk cereal bags, and they have deals with the big hotel companies, and it's disgusting. The EBT cards, you know, allowing, I think if you have an EBT card, you should be required to eat healthy. Why are you able to buy crab legs with EBT cards? That's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother video. The misuse of EBT funds. But why are you able to buy all this junk? Literally science experiments. Again, majority of our grocery stores didn't even exist 100 years ago. That's crazy. And then we wonder why everybody's so sick. Maybe it's that. I don't know.
Our food is being tainted by dangerous chemicals, and it's making us sick. Our current agriculture system origin story involves large chemical companies, not farmers, chemists. 85% of the food that you are consuming started from a patented seed sold by a chemical corporation that was responsible for creating Agent Orange in the Vietnam War.
Monsanto. Again, I'm telling you, y'all, subscribe. I'll be working on a very good video about this.
Chemical companies feeding America. In 1974, the U.S. started spraying our crops with an herbicide called glyphosate. And in the early 1990s, we began to see the release of genetically modified foods into our food supply. It all seems to begin with a chemical company by the name IG Farben, the later parent company of Bayer. Farben provided the chemicals used in Nazi nerve agents and gas chambers. When the wars ended, these companies needed a market for their chemicals. If that is not alarming enough, glyphosate is produced by and distributed from China. Americans deserve a straight answer. Why does an agrochemical company own where our food comes from? 280 million pounds of glyphosate are sprayed on American crops annually.
And again, it's something that's constantly debated. I was just looking into it now, and with Monsanto, igfarbin, Bayer, and glyphosate, and if it causes cancer or not, but there's so many lawsuits, and it's like, again, it goes back to, no, glyphosate does not cause cancer. How do you know? Why is everybody just getting cancer? Where is it coming from? Why is it just accepted? Ooh, it's so shady, and it gets so conspiratorial and dark sometimes. But like, it's like, why is it just normal? Is this accepted? Yes, diabetes is a thing, cancer is a thing, Alzheimer's is a thing, inflammation is a thing. It's fine. Go to your primary care doctor, get these pills, deal with the symptoms, and go about your day. I don't want this to be life. I don't want this to be normal. That's wrong. That's bad. I don't want to live in a life where, yeah, it's just normal. Like, everybody's going to have diabetes. Everybody's going to have cancer eventually. You know, someone's going to get it. Alzheimer's is starting to come down in younger people's age. It's fine. No. That's bad. And the part about it is that the people in charge of giving you the pills to cover the symptoms or help you treat it for life, the cancers and the inflammation and the Alzheimer's and the diabetes, work hand in hand with these companies saying, no, these things don't cause these stuff. There's no correlation there. So it's like, outside looking in, it's clear there's a never-ending loop that's being created of people eating very, very bad diets of things that didn't exist 100 years ago. Then they get sick. Then they go to the doctor and they just eat. They don't change anything about their lifestyle. They don't change and go work out. They don't change and eat less or whatever it may be. They're just doing the same thing. And it's this cycle of bad food, doctor, pills, bad food, doctor, pills. And in the midst of that, as you're getting older, oh, I'm getting more obese. Oh, I'm getting more depression. Oh, I'm getting more anxiety. Oh, I'm getting more back pain. Am I crazy? Like, or do y'all see that too? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. It's just weird. Again, like I said before, I can confidently say, I don't need a medical degree to say this, we're a giant petri dish right now of constant experiments being thrown on us.
Our food.
To listen is to accept.
Ice Spice may have gotten her start in 2022, but it wasn't until 2023 when she truly exploded into the mainstream. In just a few short months, she went from being a rising star to dominating every single corner on social media. Whether it was TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, you name it, she was there. You couldn't scroll on these social media platforms without seeing her face or maybe even hearing one of her songs in the background of these videos.
You thought I was feeling you? I was feeling you.
Her signature style, her catchy hooks, and the way she looked, let's keep it a stack, had us captivated, and we were so interested in her. We wanted to know who she was and where the hell did she come from. But what really set Ice Spice apart from all the other up-and-coming artists was how quickly she was able to start working with industry heavyweights. Collaborating with icons like Taylor Swift and Nicki Minaj so early in her career was practically unheard of. It signaled that she wasn't just a flash-in-the-pan artist. She had real powers backing her up. These co-signs elevated her status almost overnight, turning her into a promising newcomer to basically a household name. Within the span of 2 years, her TikTok videos, often featuring trendy dance moves or having little snippets of her music, were literally viral gold. They would get millions, tens of millions of views. Millions of fans and influencers copied her moves, with her sound bites dominating the platform. The combination of her looks, her style, and her music made her the it girl of the moment. She was living the dream, headlining major concerts, racking up them brand endorsements, and securing herself as the next big superstar of her generation. Or so it seemed. You see, the thing about fame is that it's a fragile thing, and it didn't take long for the cracks in her images to start showing. What seemed like a rapid rise to the top started to feel like a house of cards, as the same platforms and fans that once championed her were now the first to point out the flaws in her persona. Her debut album, which was heavily anticipated considering all the buzz that was surrounding her, landed with a thud rather than with a bang. Sales did not meet expectations, the reception to the music was lukewarm at best, and suddenly the narrative started to shift. Fans who once blasted her music non-stop started to ask themselves, was Ice Spice just hype? But it wasn't just the numbers that were concerning. Behind the scenes, whispers started to circulate about her true personality. The persona that she presented online as a carefree it girl, a baddie, she do what she wants, that persona was starting to be called into question now. People who had worked with her and interacted with her, and even people who, I don't know if I can say the word friend because it's really not giving friend, but I'm gonna just say friend for now. So people who were her friends have spoken out about Ice Spice. She's not just losing followers, she's losing something that's much harder to regain: credibility. As she was exposed for being a mean girl, being colorist, being homophobic, being fatphobic, and about lying about her background to gain more attention, the narrative around her has shifted rapidly. And these are not just small mistakes, these are the mistakes that can actually make you lose your core audience and low-key ruin your career. In a world where looks can make you famous overnight, but talent is what keeps you there, Ice Spice's story is a cautionary tale. Is this the end of her career, or a much bigger problem in the world of social media fame? Let's get into it. Yeah. But before we get into today's video, I gotta ask you a question. Have you ever thought about how much of your personal information is just floating around on the internet? Like your phone number, your address, even your social security number, all out there just waiting to be scooped up by these scammers. It's actually wild how easily that your data can get leaked. And trust me, it's way more common than you think. That's why I've turned to Aura, who is the sponsor of today's video, because I'm not about to let some random hacker hack my information. Aura helps track down which data brokers are selling your information and submits opt-out requests on your behalf so you can keep your personal information private. Plus, they send you alerts if any manager, identity theft insurance, protect the backs and hackers who stay trying it. So protect yourself online. Don't let them get you. That's why I'm relying on Aura, and I encourage you to do the same. And don't say I didn't warn you. You can visit aura.com/ncasworld to start your 2-week free trial today. It is linked in the description box down below and also the pinned comment. Take charge of your digital security. Your online protection starts today. But now that we know how to protect ourselves online, let's get into this mess with Ice Spice.
You dropped out of college. And your highest...
Community college.
Sorry, your Harper College experience, I apologize.
Barely was smart enough to make it through community college.
Okay, so...
Barely made it through high school,
your
too.
highest degree level is an honorary doctorate degree from Liberty University.
No, that's true. I do have an honorary PhD.
Yeah, so essentially, what are your qualifications for arguing that college is a scam, or really having any economical knowledge at all, when likely the vast majority of the students here know more than you about economics as a whole?
Okay, so, no, hold on, it's okay, guys, it's okay. Who's Milton Friedman?
Who's Milton Friedman? I have no idea, and it's not important to this conversation.
Who is Ludwig von Mises?
These are all probably economists, and they're the same
who
thing.
is John Maynard Keynes?
Okay, obviously I know who Keynes is.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
He's the most famous economist of all time.
You don't know Milton Friedman?
I mean, that's an economist.
Okay, how about Murray Rothbard?
That's another economist.
F.A. Hayek?
I don't know who that is.
Well, then you just came here and insulted my intelligence. You're right, I barely made it through community college because I was too busy, I don't know, starting a national youth movement with hundreds of thousands of members.
Hey, hold on, though.
Hold on. Employing hundreds of people, raising hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes.
Having a top 10 most...
Part 1. The initial appeal of Ice Spice. To understand where it all went wrong, we have to first look at how Ice Spice captured everyone's attention in the first place. When she burst in the scene in 2022, there was something fresh, something undeniably magnetic about her. People couldn't stop talking about her style, her energy, and of course, her looks, and her booty.